Hi, I'm standing here outside of the 1906 Memorial Church building, which was constructed on top of the foundations for the 1639 brick church here at Jamestown. Now, in this new excavation area, we've uncovered something potentially significant: the brick pad that marks the original entrance on the south side of the 1639 church. Now, when they built the Memorial Church in 1906, they actually moved the entryway away from where it originally was, right here, about 6 feet to the west. The first archaeological excavations done in this location were performed by the Association for the Preservation of Virginia Antiquities, the APVA, now Preservation Virginia. They exposed this brick pad and mapped its location, and then they filled the area in to landscape it with various types of soil and debris, which we have removed to expose the brick pad again and all of this rubble that you see adjacent to it. In the archaeological fill from the early 1900s, we often find artifacts, things that the APVA did not retain or simply didn't notice. One of the more interesting finds we've had from this location was this, a small jeton or counting token. Now, this jeton would have been made in 1615, and it commemorates the marriage of Louis XIII, King of France, to Queen Anne. This is the only jeton of its kind that we've found at Jamestown to date. However, we did find another jeton commemorating the coronation of Louis XIII. Louis XIII was coronated in 1610, but that other jeton also appears to have been minted in 1615, possibly by the same family that created this jeton in the first place. This jeton was made by Hans Laufer, while the coronation commemoration jeton was made by Wolf Laufer II, possibly Hans Laufer's son. This brick pad was constructed with more than one type of mortar. We've got a brown mortar right here, which is also present in and around and underneath these bricks. But then we also have this gray mortar, and we think that mortar represents a secondary building period, one where they added a portico onto the front of the brick pad. Now you'll notice that on the front here we have a large chunk of andesite and we have cobble, both of which are mortared in to the brick pad. We think these could be reused from the 1617 church, and certainly we have other debris that comes from that foundation right out here in these units. You can see these large cobblestones sitting in this fill and a large piece of Bermuda limestone. We also have bricks with very white shell mortar which match those seen in the 1617 foundation. So we think, due to the proximity of that building and the potential need for items for reuse, they blew through the 1617 structure and incorporated some of that into this. While the APVA was the first to dig in this space, they weren't the last, and we unfortunately have several modern features cutting through the archaeological remains in these units. You can see several of them right here. These three holes mark where wooden signposts, probably put in the 1960s, once sat. We also have a hole where we removed a wooden post from an earlier iteration of this fence. And finally, we have a hole where a black metal post had been concreted into the ground. Whoever put that in tapped straight through the brick pad and into the underlying buried topsoil, this nice dark brown material, which we can also see right over here in one of the signpost post holes. Now, that dark buried topsoil dates to the earliest periods of European occupation out here and just prior. It's usually full of Native American artifacts and can tell us a little bit about what's happening on Jamestown Island prior to the arrival of Europeans. We're not done digging in this space. Our next steps are to remove the rubble and see what other features might be hiding underneath of it, and if we can tie any of those to the 1639 church, the 1617 church, or other occupation periods prior to that time period.